Down the center of the track, here comes that big gray Tapit Trice right down the outside. Tapit Trice trying to mow down Classic Car Wash. Here comes Tapit Trice, and Tapit Trice going to go on to win the Tampa Bay Derby.
That was the call from track announcer Jason Beam on Saturday's Tampa Bay Derby, where Tapit Trice may not have been the prettiest of efforts, but it did look pretty in the end. Wins the Tampa Bay Derby on the road to the Kentucky Derby Championship Series. This, of course, is inside the Kentucky Derby, if you haven't figured it out yet. And, of course, inside the Kentucky Derby would not be possible without Woodford Reserve. With 200 flavor notes in every sip, Woodford Reserve is a spectacle for the senses. Please enjoy responsibly. Darren Rogers, Kevin Kirstein here with you. And Darren, you know, it was a intriguing voyage for Tapit Trice, but I think he had vaulted up the list on many people's Derby top 5-10 lists after his impressive turn of foot in the Tampa Bay Derby.
Yeah, I got a mixed bag on this one. We know the Tampa Bay Derby was a modest field. Not surprising that Tapit Trice was able to win by 2 lengths at odds of 1-2, very short price in there. You know, he did what he had to do, so we'll give him credit for that, but I'm not sure how fast this was. And is this the type of performance that puts you in a conversation with his stablemate Forte? I don't think it is. I need more.
I need more as well. I'm looking forward to seeing more if, as Todd Pletcher said, if he trains as forwardly as he has been, likely to show up in the bluegrass in his next start. And, you know, what he did in the Tampa Bay Derby, I don't think will lead to victory in the Kentucky Derby. You can't break slow in the Derby, in the Kentucky Derby. You're going to encounter traffic issues, and it looked like to me, you know, we can go through the metrics of this race if you want to, D, but, you know, at the 3/8 ball, if you would have told me he was a winner, I would have said no way.
Oh, I agree.
He did.
Well, he was urged throughout. I mean, look,
Yeah.
let's review the race. And by the way, our podcast last week, between the two of us, we were spot on and dialed in on this race.
Yeah.
I mean, from the outset.
A squirrel finds a nut every once in a while.
I mean, you're welcome for that super high five of $3,300. Yeah, it was, we had that parade going into the first turn, a Dreamy Dakota, Zydeco, and Prairie Hawk. The next flight was Lord Miles, Classic Legacy, and then Shesterkin. Groveland got another ideal inside pocket trip in the next flight down on the rail. Champion's Dream was on his outside. Then you go a little further back and you have, Freedom Road, Classic Car Wash, Tapit Trice, and Mikey Bananas. And Tapit Trice was dead last. That wasn't the biggest surprise to me. But to your point, KK, you've got to break away from the gate to win American dirt races, to be able to put yourself in a forward position. And as they race down the backstretch, I mean, he was near the back of the pack. Luis Saez is urging. He's pumping his arms for, what do you think? 5/8 of a mile?
It had to have been
6 furlongs,
because
maybe?
all of a sudden when I saw him under a ride, because, when he walked out of the gate and he was 8 3/4 lengths back. And then he makes up 4 lengths. And all of a sudden on the backside, he's back into position. But he had to work to get into that position. And that's when Louis started pumping his arms to try and get this horse to go. And he looked like not a winner until maybe the 8th pole, around the far turn, as they were moving, into where the pace setters were beginning to tire. He was sort of all out. And
this was the definition, in my opinion, of the word class.
Yeah.
He was the classiest of this modest field. And he was able to wear them down in the stretch. He's not going to be able to do that against top flight competition. If he wheels back that performance against the better 3-year-olds in the country, the Fortes. And oh, by the way, the news, Arabian Night.
Yeah, we sort of buried the lead right there.
Yeah, I mean, Arabian Night is off the Derby trail, off the Triple Crown trail, is going to be pointed to a summer and fall campaign because something has gone amiss out in California. So now you have a standout in Forte with, I think the trio out west in Practical Move, Go Rocket Ride, even a pace dependent Skinner. They're fast. Maybe a rocket can for Bill Mott, but Tapit Trice, I thought, would be moving into that, clearly the horse that's going to be able to compete with his stablemate Forte. And I'm not sure he can compete with those others with that type of performance.
Now,
by the way, he's got every right to continue to improve. Just based off of that effort, that's not going to get the job done.
It's not. And I do think he has a lot of room to improve. And I think he learned a lot. It could learn a lot from that effort. He took dirt and he wasn't comfortable taking the dirt. And, it's the sandier surface at Tampa. Maybe he didn't like the surface per se as his more perceived type of ground that he's running on. So he's learning all of that. He still hasn't learned to break from the starting gate. And I can tell you, Todd is one of the best trainers at schooling his horses, between him and Steve Asmussen and Brad Cox. They school. It's just something hasn't clicked yet with this horse. But I do think a race like that, you go back 2 starts when his allowance race where he was just, so much the best in that race, that really doesn't maybe necessarily learn a lot, or light bulbs really don't go off because he won so easily. Mm-hmm. This, he had to really work for it. So I'm really curious to see in the Bluegrass, what he can do in that race. If a light bulb clicks and he sort of makes that vault forward, because he does have the room to vault forward. He has the pedigree to do so. He has the looks to do so. And that, 1/8 of a mile, really, when he sort of had his body down and was running his fastest as he did in that deep stretch in the Tampa Bay Derby. If he can figure out, to put all those things together, which young horses can do so very quickly, I think he can vault his name up with the Fortes and the Practical Moves right now. If the Derby was run next week, he's, like you said, probably 6th or 7th, in my opinion, on, the top horses right now in the country.
And he's going to have to vault forward in that Bluegrass without my backing because he's going to be overbet, right? And he's a hype horse that's, that performance on Saturday, while, you give him the credit for doing what he's supposed to do down the lane, but he's going to be overbet. And I'm going to look forward to, gambling against him down in Lexington.
And think about that Bluegrass too, with the Keeneland configuration. It's not the longest of stretches either. So he's going to, sort of have to get going all around the turn too, to, get his stride into top gear. So it'll be a really intriguing.
It's what makes this road fun.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun, cause then you sort of like, you think, and it's, the thoughts of, what if, obviously, because we're just, talking about the Derby. So what if Forte goes and wins the Florida Derby impressively? And then what if Tapit Trice goes and wins the Bluegrass impressively? And we've seen this last year, Epicenter and Zandon, who would be the favorite into the Derby. And so that's what I think is, so much fun to look forward to, because it's, what if, but if Tapit Trice, that's big if, can win the Bluegrass in his stablemate, it'll be a fun last few weeks to determine the favorite for the Kentucky Derby.
How about the little horse that could? The runner-up, Classic Car Wash.
He's a neat horse.
As you know, I've been a little bit of a fan of this guy, and he was 13-1, and he was well back off the pace and was wide throughout. In fact, went 5 wide on the turn. I thought he was going to get the money, down the stretch. Do you think Jaramillo did he move too soon? He made a big move to get the jump on Tapit Trice around the turn. And, maybe I'm nitpicking here, but he might not have been in that position to finish second if he had not made that move too soon. but I thought if he waited just a tick more.
He might have been worried that sort of seen what happened in the Sam Davis of, how the speed was holding on. And granted, I think the track was more fair on Saturday for the Tampa Bay Derby, but maybe just a little bit worried and trying to, not let Tapit Trice get too far in front of him. And so that was one of those like 50-50 calls. I could see where you're coming from, but it's, if he didn't, get into position like that, then, who knows if he would have encountered any more traffic than he did.
Classic Legacy, who kept on like Classic Car Wash in the Sam F. Davis, did so again by finishing third. And then Prairie Hawk was our price horse that we were touting, of a horse that had his head turned in the gate and the Sam F. Davis and just lost all chance at the start because he likes to be forwardly placed. He was forwardly placed on Saturday and was able to hang around for a fourth place check. That Superfecta, for those of you that may or may not have invested for a dime, came back $47.27.
Hey, not bad for an inside the Kentucky Derby Super, and hopefully you played it.
It's a $470 to 1 Superfecta.
Yeah,
in the odds.
No big deal there. I wish I would have played it. I didn't play it. So that was a fun race. Obviously, a lot of things moving forward out of that race. I'm interested, as you mentioned, with Prairie Hawk. He's another one that I don't think got much out of that Sam Davis, but got a lot out of that Tampa Bay Derby. I think he's a little bit more talented than we've seen so far on the racetrack. He's not quite into, Derby contender talent range, but he's moving himself up to a very nice 3-year-old.
I'm not saying the rest of the field can't garner enough points and qualify for the Kentucky Derby, but this field has the feel of like a preview of the Sir Barton on the Preakness undercard. You know what I mean? It just does to me.
Yeah.
Now that we have a lull coming up, KK, with, now we're under 8 weeks to the Kentucky Derby. There are no point races 7 weeks out, excluding we do have the road to the Kentucky Derby Condition Stakes at Kempton on the Euro Road. But let's do a little review of what do you think these, if you had to rank this, we're in March Madness. So you have the strength of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to rank the quality and strength of the prep races, obviously the Fountain of Youth is going to be up there because of Forte.
I'm more thinking of what was behind the winners in each one of these races, right? So,
okay.
Forte is, like you mentioned, is going to come back as one of the top, races so far because of Forte. But, who did he beat, and what do you think they can come back and do after those races? So Rocket Can, Cyclone Mischief, Mage, Shadow Dragon completed the top 5 in the Fountain of Youth. I think they're nice horses. As of right now, I'm trying to compare them to, let's say, the San Felipe in Practical Move, Go Rocket Ride, Skinner, Hijazi, Fort Bragg. I'd put the San Felipe maybe a tick ahead overall of the Florida division right now.
I can see that. The depth is there.
The depth, and that's sort of what I'm looking at. So the depth of that region, if we're talking regionals, the California region, I think is just a tick ahead right now of the South Florida region.
So they're the Big 12. The San Felipe is the Big 12.
The San Felipe could be the Big 12. Yeah.
Okay.
And then I guess it's hard to really range the Oaklawn Fairgrounds type of region, because
you can merge the two.
You can sort of merge them, right? Because where the Rebel was in Confidence Game, he came from Fairgrounds. So a lot of these horses are going to then go back to New Orleans. So it's almost like the Midwest region there, I think, would be the next region that we're looking at. In the Rebel, we had Confidence Game, Red Route 1, Reincarnate, Verifying. I think those are 4 very nice horses. Bourbon Bash still needs to do a little bit of work, in my opinion. I think these horses, are going to run well in their final championship series race. And then in the Risen Star, with Angel of Empire, Sun Thunder, 2 fills, Tapit's Conquest, single ruler. I'd almost put that race itself a tick below the Rebel. But again, in that same region, I think they're sort of 1 and 1A.
So I'm going to grade it a little differently.
Okay.
I have the Fountain of Youth 1 just because of Forte. There is the depth of the San Felipe. And I think those two are clear above the rest.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think you had a very good performance in the Rebel with Confidence Game. Can Confidence Game replicate that again? Let's see. I thought Angel of Empire was fine. Probably put him behind that. Then you go back to some of the prep season performances. I want to see Hit Show come back.
He was impressive.
He was very impressive at 1 1/8 in the Withers. I think that's about it for me.
Yeah.
That's about it for me.
Yeah, it really is. At this stage with, almost going on 7 weeks out of the Derby, I think we've got it covered. And then sort of the unknown region too, that, we didn't touch on right there, is what's going to happen in the UAE Derby internationally, because I think Japan has a big hand with their 3-year-olds. But again, we don't know what they've sort of been running against in the competition over in Japan, and what can happen for, the Aidan O'Brien runner in the UAE Derby. So that's a huge wild card for us right now, 7 weeks out, because I think the international hand is a lot more powerful this year than we've seen in more recent years past.
Yeah, it's interesting. There's clear interest from Coolmore with Cairo. There's been interest for the last several years from Japan. So we'll see about, Perrier or was it Derma Sotogake. We'll see what happens in the UAE Derby. Do the fans agree with us? Let's see. We had the closing of Pool 5 of the Kentucky Derby Future Wager. Forte was the clear 3-1 favorite. Tapit Trice, it's always about the now horse, closed as the 8-1 second choice. Then you had all other 3-year-olds at 10-1. Practical Move at 12-1. I thought that's actually decent value there.
Mm-hmm.
Instant Coffee took a lot of money for Brad Cox at 19-1. You have the closer Red Route 1, 24-1 for Steve Asmussen. The Yachteen Baffert horses are, falling off, right? I mean, Reincarnate is the top hope at 24-1. Hit Show 28-1. Go Rocket Ride 30-1. Confidence Game 30-1. Verifying 36. Angel of Empire in the Derby at 38-1. Rocket Can at 42. King's Barnes is an interesting horse, and interesting only because he continues to get money and take money and draw attention at 43-1. But to me, he's not fast enough. He's got to get faster.
Eyeball test is one thing, but he's not fast right now.
Yeah. And then, Skinner at 45-1, and those are the horses that are under 50. So,
that Future Wager was a tough puzzle, because you sort of look at the pool, and being that most of these horses are going to have one more race leading into the Kentucky Derby. So, a horse like Go Rocket Ride, if he goes and wins the Santa Anita Derby, and that's a big if, he's going to have to beat Practical Move. What does his price do in the Kentucky Derby? And so that's, sort of the puzzle that I think is fun to work through this penultimate pool in the Derby, Future Wager, because, what these horses will have to do moving forward compared to what their prices are now.
There were 2 long shots in there above 50-1 that drew attention to me. And that would be the Risen Star runner-up, Sun Thunder, who closed at 85-1. I thought that was decent value.
Mm-hmm.
And then a real big value, and a horse that I took a piece on, Major Dude for Todd Pletcher at 141-1. Grade 3 winner of the Kitten's Joy on turf. He's run fast on the turf. If he can replicate that on the dirt in any way, shape, or form, he'll be possibly I'm going to call him the likely favorite in the Jeff Ruby Stakes. And, he's a Bolt Oro out of a Distorted Humor mare.
And he's running the dirt, but I don't think his dirt efforts are really ones to, judge his character on.
Yeah, he might have just wanted to go long all along.
Yeah.
For all we know. But anyway, I just thought he was an interesting horse to take a shot on at 141 to 1.
Yeah. That'll pad the pockets a little bit.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. So that was the Derby future wager. The Oaks future wager also ran concurrently with that. That was just more of a puzzling, as we've talked about. The Oaks picture is just, wide open at this point this year. And, I can't back any 3-year-old fillies confidently right now, but there was some value within that field.
No, and that scene will start to clear itself out in the next couple of weeks when the road to the Oaks picks back up. Wet Plaint for Brad Cox, currently 4 to 1. Wonder Wheel at 6 to 1. Hoosier Philly was the third choice at 7. Punch Bowl for Brad Cox at 11. Julia Shining at 14. All other 3-year-old fillies at 14 to 1, followed by Pretty Mischievous at 15. Guns and Graces at 20. And then Money's Gold, who we'll see if she even stretches out for Todd Pletcher, at 24 to 1. It's a real grab bag right now. The 3-year-old fillies will come into more of a sharper focused as we, start clawing within, 6, 5, and 4 weeks out of the Derby.
Yeah,
or Oaks rather.
That's coming right around the corner. It's coming here faster than I think we thought. Did you have anything else that caught your interest over the weekend?
Well, there were some fast performances. There's a Triple Crown nominated horse for Bill Mott that won on debut going a mile and a 16th. Empire Strikes Fast. How appropriate the name is. It's a gelded son of Empire Maker for Pin Oak Stud. Got up by half length at 23 to 1 to beat the heavy favorite for Todd Pletcher, Dreamlike, the son of Gunrunner. That was a fast race. That was one worth looking at. Out in California, going a mile and 16th, I Don't Get It for Doug O'Neill, prevailed by 3/4 of a length over the perennial maiden Yellow Brick for Richard Mandela. This horse has, had 4 career starts with 2 seconds and 2/3, and just can't seem to break through. Dazzle Me Silver ended up being 3rd. Down at Oaklawn on last Thursday in the slop, Kenny McPeak had Mendelssohn's March in its second start, win a first level non-winners of 2 lifetime, was promoted to victory via DQ in his debut on the turf at Fairgrounds. KK, I know you had word that Mendelssohn's March, or we had word from the racing office here at Churchill through some scuttlebutt that this might be Kenny McPeak's best 3-year-old.
Yeah, Kenny told me in the paddock for the John Battaglia Memorial, he actually tried to enter this horse and he didn't make the program. He was number 15 on the preference list, and that goes by earnings after the non-graded stakes winners, and so his earnings from his DQ bump up maiden race down at Fairgrounds didn't quite make him to make the program. And so Kenny was scrambling, what do I do with this horse? Now he sent him down to his Oaklawn division, told me this could be his best 3-year-old that he has in his barn right now. And he went and won that first level allowance race in impressive fashion. He needs to get faster, but a horse that, will probably get a try and to see if he can, jump into Derby contention.
Yeah. Slipped through along the rail. Very professional. It was very nice. And did you see who was second?
Oh, yeah.
The Tomato.
The Tomato.
El Tomate. El Tomate, the son of Run Happy, who it was a 71 to 1 bomb in the Southwest that reminded me of his father when he won his debut at Remington Park. Did not run a lick in the Southwest, but came back in the slop and ran second to Mendelssohn's March at 24 to 1 with Silver Heist running 3rd. That was about it, from an overall, 3-year-olds that might have caught my eye over the last week.
Yeah, we're now sort of into the point now with 7 weeks out to the Derby. If, you haven't broken your maiden yet, it's going to be tough to make the Derby. And so maybe, even if you are running in
but it's still nice to see these horses, the future, the promise. I mean, look, we're always looking for racing's next big stars. And who are the horses that are going to be in the conversation, not just for the Kentucky Derby, but who are going to be the ones in the conversation for the champion 3-year-old of 2023 at year's end? And, let's face it, we've had some nice ones on the sidelines. Extra Anejo is behind the 8 ball. Cave Rock is behind the 8 ball. Arabian Night has now gone to the sidelines. Loggins has not started breezing. So, we're going to look at the overall 3-year-old picture. And it's always nice to see these horses jump onto the stage no matter when they may or may not break their maiden. The latest maiden breaker to win the Derby is and debut. I know it's definitely justified with the February 18th debut, but in terms of, let's see, Broker's Tip, 1933 broke his maiden while winning the Derby.
Right. I don't know if, I don't think we're going to see that this year.
No, I don't think we're going to see that.
Or in recent years to come. I think that's about it for us today. It's, everything's happening around here at Churchill Downs. We're starting to get some of the staff coming back in, for, getting ready for Derby preparation. So it's fun to see some familiar faces around the Churchill Downs office area, and it's all happening. Horses are going to come back next week. It's that time of year. It's still cold in Kentucky.
Yeah, it's real cold today. It's feels like 25 degrees outside. Everything's coming together. In fact, we have a job fair for those of you in the Louisville or Kentucky area for the spring meet and the Kentucky Derby. A number of different jobs that'll be available. Those will be posted on churchilldowns.com via the job fair on Saturday. What is it? March the 18th. That would be the date.
Yeah. Yes, that would be the date. Saturday. I was trying to think. Saturday is March the 18th already. Time flies when we're having fun. So that'll be it for us. We'll be back next time to, have 2 talking heads, and maybe we'll have a guest. Who knows? Thanks for listening to Inside the Kentucky Derby. Don't forget, please give us a review. We like to hear the stats from upstairs when we hear reviews, when, the folks upstairs in the office area on the marketing team, they're looking at all the analytics and they see these reviews. Just helps us.
I'm going to ask for the 5-star review, and I think we did give a 5-star performance.
Yeah, we got it done.
It's rare. I mean, we're more of a 4-star kind of duo here, but I think we did 5.
Give us 5. Why not? Why not? Just hit that extra star just for your friends here at Inside the Kentucky Derby. That'll be it for us. We'll talk next time. Thanks again for listening.